right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another live video podcast from the PNT Live Network. And remember, you can always check out information and archives pertaining to these podcasts over on pntlive.net. This morning, I am very excited, very honored, actually, to have the opportunity to introduce all of you, my audience and my listeners, to a very special, very unique, very brave, and very resilient person, a survivor, actually. Somebody known as Alberto Daniel Hill of Uruguay. Yes, we are going international today. Over the past couple of days, I have been familiarized with an amazing story. And when it comes to amazing stories, that's me. I'm all about adventure, mystery, anything having to do with technology and how our world is evolving. But I got a follow request out of the blue, seemingly out of the blue at least, maybe not really out of the blue, from Alberto. And I'll tell you, the moment that I saw his photo, he looks a little bit like Robert De Niro, very striking man. But upon taking a look at his website, which all of you, I really encourage you to check out. It's albertohill.com. And you can familiarize yourself with Alberto yourself if you pop on over to pntlive.net and click on the most recent entry. But Alberto, he's lived an amazing story. He really has. It's not just a story. This isn't fictitious, what I'm about to delve into. This is his life. This is reality. His story should be made into a movie or at least a multi-part Netflix series because it is that compelling. I have not been this excited over a person's situation and how they are coming back from that situation in a very long time. And those of you who have followed me for a long time, you know how I am. So anyway, I noticed that Alberto had an episode over on something called The Darknet Diaries. It's actually episode number 25. So I was like, all right, let me take a listen. And I don't want to spoil it for you, the viewer, because I do want all of you to learn a bit about him yourself before I go too far into detail in regards to what's going on with him. But I listened to the story, and a lot of the story directly paralleled some situations revolving around internet security that I personally have witnessed that have been linked to the adult entertainment industry. So I was able to understand his story. I was able to see how it's quite possible that he was set up, and he just dropped a major bomb via his own YouTube channel, which I will link up over on pntlive.net, when it comes to what he feels is a tremendous amount of government corruption within the country of Uruguay. Yeah, I'm actually going to have to most likely repost this podcast over on my website, Political News Time, because this has to do with some major political news. Just to summarize, here is what happened to Alberto. Alberto is an internet security specialist, legit. If you go on over to his website, albertohill.com, you can look at his credentials. You can see his resume. He really is a genius. Like, when you look at Alberto's story, you need to think to yourself, what would a situation be if there was a real life occurrence of the primary character of the series, Mr. Robot? And what if Mr. Robot met Neo of the Matrix and somehow they combined? And then what if that result were to in turn combine with the storyline of The Sopranos? That is Alberto's reality. That's his reality. In fact, everyone really needs to support him by following him over on A. Daniel Hill via Twitter. Because if you take a look at some of the things that he is tweeting, and if you take a look at these videos that he has posted in regards to what he believes is government corruption within Uruguay, you're just going to become addicted to his story. As of current, from what I can see, the internationally known actress known as Nicole Eggert, I'm sure many of you remember her from the first couple of seasons of Baywatch, she endorses Alberto. And Nicole Eggert, she's a stand-up kind of woman. She's the kind of woman who you just know she's not going to lend her name to just anybody or anything that is not authentic. Now, Alberto, he has been chronicled in the international press for quite a while now. When he initially was arrested, there was so much news coverage when it came to his situation. It's just astounding that we haven't heard of his situation more so in America. But I have a theory as to why that is. I think we haven't heard much about his situation because his situation reveals that there are a lot of holes as of current within law enforcement and their ability to properly track down internet criminals. Those of you who have followed me for many years, you are aware that I personally have struggled when it's come to a lot of online bullying, stalking, attacks against my family, my friends, everything. That all stemmed from internet crime. And many of you know that I have opened many court cases when it's come to the internet crime that I've endured. And law enforcement, unfortunately, hasn't been able to assist my situation very much. Why? Because of something that Alberto touches on. The fact that law enforcement does need a tremendous amount of education when it comes to what the internet really is. Criminals are thriving on the internet as of current because not enough people are familiar with the inner workings and the intricacies of the internet. But what I'm thinking, when I look at Alberto, I see the future. I see a man whose story is so compelling that he alone could quite possibly create a massive amount of change, not just in Uruguay, not just in America, but globally, when it comes to what it will take for law enforcement to properly get a hold on the criminals that thrive on the internet. So today's only an introduction when it comes to Alberto, because I'm going to have to touch on everything about him in tiny chunks just so that you, the viewer, can digest the intensity of his story. All right. But before I let all of you go, I am going to read to you the synopsis, which was posted on the Darknet Diaries. But I just want to share with you the write-up that was put together about Alberto. And I hope that all of you, maybe while you're driving in your car or you're at home making dinner, put on this episode of the Darknet Diaries and listen to the adventure that his life has been. Listen to the story of triumph, because this isn't really only about technology. This isn't really only about a man who apparently was unjustly accused of something that he allegedly did not do. This is a story of triumph, resiliency, and a man who truly cares about those around him, so much so that he was willing to keep his mouth shut and take the fall to protect his loved ones. This is a man of character, because if he wasn't, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking about him. All right, here we go. In February 2017, a medical provider in Uruguay got hacked. The attacker stole a bunch of patient records and then used that to conduct extortion on the provider. They said they'd release the records of everyone with HIV unless they get $60,000 worth of Bitcoin. The medical provider worked with the police to catch and arrest Alberto Hill, a 41-year-old Uruguayan. Alberto had a ton of hacker paraphernalia and electronic devices at his house. We're talking dozens of credit cards, a bunch of hardware, Bitcoin wallets, thumb drives galore with hacking tools and viruses on them, a credit card writer with a bunch of blank cards, numerous hard drives, computers, routers, printers, and an anonymous mask. Alberto admitted to hacking into the medical provider, admitted to owning all of this equipment, and even admitted to the police he sent the email. But he claims he's innocent. Listen to his story, and you be the judge on whether he's guilty or not. Yes, and keep in mind, Alberto is one of those very special people on our planet whose mind is not like the rest of many of us. He's advanced. He's very evolved. He's the future. And because he is who he is, a lot of people are very threatened by him. They are very jealous of him. And they seek to do one of two things: either destroy him or control him. Which is why we all need to support him and help him, because he's not the only one. He's not the only targeted individual out there who is being targeted because he essentially has a special ability that the majority of us don't have yet, but will in the future. We need to support him and shield him and let the world know, and the powers that be know, that they don't get to own him. They don't get to control him. He is okay right now, to my knowledge. But again, he dropped a major bomb by outing quite a bit of major corruption within his country. I'm not going to reveal it all yet. We'll get into that in a follow-up podcast. But I was just excited about talking about him today, and letting a lot of you know that there's a lot more to life than our five senses perceive. And humans are consistently evolving. And when I look at the potential that Alberto Daniel Hill possesses, I have a lot of hope for the future. So take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today and watching. And if you would like to get to know Alberto further, of course, follow him on his Twitter, @DanielHill. But you can find many links to him over on pntlive.net. Once more, I'm Alex Mayers. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.